Hey everybody, Austin here again with another Let's Play video. Today, as you can see, it's going to be Castlevania for the Nintendo Entertainment System. This is a Let's Play I did many years ago, and I even did a long play well prior to that. But with this new capture setup, I'm trying to go through some of my old playthroughs and basically just redo them and sort of take a look at them from a more current perspective as well as an updated skill perspective. I feel like I've gotten better as a classic game player since I originally did some of these Let's Plays, 3, 4, 5, almost 6 years ago now in some cases, in terms of playthroughs. So yeah, I'm looking forward to going through Castlevania again. I thought about holding this off until October, but I don't know what I'm going to do for October this year. So we're just going to go ahead and kick off Castlevania many months early. And, you know, every time of the year is a good time to play Castlevania. That's kind of how I look at it. I don't really just save this series for Halloween. Castlevania is one of my favorite gaming franchises out there, and I can pretty much play it any time of the year and feel pretty awesome about it. So we're going to go ahead and play through Castlevania. But before we jump into this, I wanted to take a quick minute to give a shout out to all my Patreon supporters. Since my last video, we actually got quite a few supporters, so I want to go ahead and shout you guys out. So we got Violator 2012, Ryan Croft, Michael Martin, John Thompson, Brian Sproat, Beefy, Gary Nicholson, Andrew McNeil, Talus Barrows, and last but not least, Arthur Andrews. So thank you guys for pledging on Patreon. Yeah, I started a Patreon about a month ago, and it's been going pretty well so far. If you guys feel like you want to support this show through other means, feel free to check out my Patreon account. If not, I totally understand. I appreciate all the support regardless, whether it's through Patreon or just watching my videos on YouTube and stuff like that, liking and commenting, being subscribed to my channel, enjoying my content. That's really what I care about. So thanks for your support regardless, but thank you to those guys that have supported me on Patreon. And as well as everyone that supported me in the beginning as well. So let's go ahead and jump right into this. What I'm going to be doing is trying to go through the game using methods that would make it easier for somebody new playing the game to beat the game. There's a thread on Atari Age called My Quest to Beat Castlevania for the NES. It was started many years ago, actually, by an individual. And he was basically detailing his quest to beat the original Castlevania, and he was, needless to say, having a hell of a time with it. And that's not uncommon for people that have never completed this game before. And so we provided many tips and so forth to help him through his quest, and I'm not sure which tips he took specifically, but there's a couple of tricks I'm going to show you guys to where if you're having an issue with Castlevania, you too should be able to complete the game by using these tricks. So one of the tricks is holding on to the holy water. The holy water is insanely useful in this game. And for one, if you combo enemies with it, and this goes for any power-up, not just holy water, but it's the easiest with holy water. If you combo enemies, you get some pretty big combo points, actually. And sometimes what I like to do in the beginning, particularly when I'm on the second loop, is just sitting here and grinding out some enemies for a moment. And if you do this, you can actually get some pretty early extra lives fairly quickly. So, just to demonstrate it for you, there we go, just got an extra life. That's our first extra life, and if you really wanted to, you could just sit here and continue to do it. But I'm not going to, actually, for the sake of time. But that's a good little trick to know right there, and that was actually a Roman numeral 3 icon. The Roman numerals allow you to use your secondary weapons multiple times. So, to use a secondary weapon, you press up and B, and that will use your, for me right now, holy water. And normally you can only use it once, but by having the Roman numeral icon, you can use it twice. And you can get the Roman numeral 3 icon and use it 3 times. I'm going to also try to do a damage boost here. This is something you watch the speedrunners do. Ooh, we got it on our first try. I never get it on my first try. I'm going to be using a couple of techniques like that just for fun, just to show you guys some of the things you can do in the game that weren't really, most likely weren't really intended by the developers. But I am by no means a speedrunner. I take some tricks though that I see and I like to try them out, and that's basically what I do. So I'm going to show you one more damage boost, and it's going to be on level 2. But then after that, it's pretty much just all normal stuff. So for new players, the best way to attack this bat is just by grabbing the axe and then just pressing up and B to axe him from a distance. That's probably the easiest way to take out the bat. There are faster ways to take him out, but they're much riskier. And for someone just playing casually that just wants to try to beat the game, get the axe. Hitting that block on the right will give you the Roman numeral 2 as long as you've got the axe, and that allows you to throw 2 axes at once. Now, the axe isn't something I typically rely on a lot in the game, but it is a great weapon because you can attack enemies from below, for instance. We just picked up the cross. This is a fantastic weapon, especially once you get the Roman numerals to power up multiple times. Also, there's some hidden treasures you can get. So by busting open this block and walking into this little room here, it actually makes that treasure appear. So bats that are perched up like that will come flying at you, just to demonstrate it like that. You can just either walk off or you can try to attack it. What I like to do is get from a distance and use the cross and just attack it before it starts flying at me. That's something you can do in later Castlevanias as well. So hearts are your ammunition for your secondary weapons. So you need to watch out for your ammunition. Make sure you're not running too low on your hearts. There's a Roman numeral 2 icon right there. And we got some moving platforms. There's a few sections with moving platforms in this game. There's not a ton of them. So it's not really a mechanic that usually gets in the way and causes, difficulty for people. So this candle here usually has a dagger. I like to skip the dagger, but you know what? Let's go ahead and grab it just so I can show it to you. Because we're going to end up switching off the cross anyway. Or you can call it a boomerang. It looks more like a boomerang in this one, but in other versions of the game, or later renditions of Castlevania, it's an actual, like, holy cross symbol. But it still acts like a boomerang. So that was the other damage boost I was talking about. If you need some extra health, you can go to the right, like you're normally supposed to do, and there's a hidden block you can get to replenish your health. They call it wall meat. So this is some wall meat right here. That gives you about, I think it's a little less than a third of your health back. Maybe a little bit more than a third of your health back. Or maybe it's exactly a third of your health. So holy water is right here. And these things will kill you in one hit. The center one you have to duck underneath. So your timing's got to be just right with these things. And there's going to be a ghost guy that comes from behind. And there's going to be another Roman numeral right here. So lots of hidden blocks and things like that in this game. Not as many in a game as a game like Super Mario Brothers or something like that. But there are definitely secrets, and there's also some little tricks too. Like if you use your holy water on an enemy, you can walk through the enemies without taking damage. And that's what I just did on that bone pillar. That's a technique some speedrunners use, actually. It's not something I usually use to make the game easier to play. It's just something that's just kind of fun to do, just for grins, basically. So we're already almost at stage 3, and that's halfway through the game, almost. Once we finish stage 3, we'll officially be halfway through the game. But Castlevania is actually not a very long game. And it makes sense it's not a super long game. It's actually a pretty early NES game. It came out in 1986 in Japan on the Famicom, and it came out in 1987 in North America. And it's a pretty early release, all things considered. I think this came out before the NES really caught fire in North America. And, as such, and for that era, it's actually a really well-balanced game. Lots of different stages and backgrounds you go to, but it's noticeably shorter than some other later NES games that would come after, including Castlevania 3, which is a phenomenal game, by the way, guys. If you guys haven't seen that, check out my channel. I've got multiple videos on Castlevania 3, including a recent live stream where I finished it multiple times, both the Japanese and North American versions, in the same sitting. So that was a lot of fun. You can check that out if you want to see some Castlevania 3 action. Alright, so we're going to just take it easy here. So Castlevania it's a notoriously difficult game. One thing that makes it difficult is when you take damage from enemies, you get knocked back. It's called knockback, and ducking there will actually give me another little treasure, money bag. The knockback is what makes the game really tough for some people. There's an axe right here. I've got many of the item placements in this game memorized pretty well, just because I've played this game so much. This is one of my most played NES games. But the knockback makes things quite challenging for some people, so there are some tricks to avoid that. For instance, as you saw, I got hit by the birds there on that previous section. But if you're on stairs, you don't get knocked off stairs. So if you see stairs and you're worried you're going to get hit, go ahead and just tank. Sit on the stairs and just tank. And in the case of the birds, it's actually kind of funny, like, they'll actually kill themselves if they run into you. So, I don't know if it's just when you're on stairs. Let's find out. Nope, they die regardless. So, good to know. So, if you think you're going to take a hit on the birds, just, yeah, sit on some stairs if they're available and just let them run into you. Enemies in this game usually take a couple of health blocks away. Towards the end of the game, they start taking more blocks of health away. So I think at this point, they take like 2 or 3 blocks of health every time they touch you, or every time you take a hit. Towards the end of the game, they're going to be taking, I think, 4 blocks of health every single time. So the farther you get into the game, the damage starts scaling. Enemies start dealing out more damage. And so not only do the levels get more challenging, but, you know, enemies also dish out more damage, so you have less wiggle room to work with. Alright, so there's going to be a dagger right here. I'm just going to let it disappear. And so in my original Let's Play, I don't think I did this, but what you can do here, if you're new to the game, or even if you're not new to the game, sit up top here and just use your holy water on these guys. Just like this. And if you're not using your holy water, you can still attack them from this top platform here. But you can also bust it open to get some health. Now, if you bust it open, you can't get back up top. So, what you can do is just sit up top, use the holy water, or get down and just attack them in the heads. It doesn't look like your whip connects, but it actually does. The hitboxes are relatively large in certain cases, from what it seems like. So, alright, we're halfway through the game, and this is one of the levels that gives a lot of people trouble for multiple reasons. And what I'm going to do is grab this stopwatch here. The stopwatch actually stops time for a few moments, and I like to use it right here to stop the bats from coming in and to stop the mermen from jumping up as well. Now, I lost the holy water, but there's more holy water right here. And so what I'm going to do is try to hold on to it. That'll make this boss much, much easier if I can keep it. This part you need to duck, and don't press up under these spiky looking rocks. I'm pretty sure you will get hurt if you try to stand up while underneath them, I think. It's been a while since I've tried it. I'm not about to try to demonstrate it right now, so... this part right here is also pretty tricky for some people. You know, there's the illusion that you have to duck to attack the enemies here, but that is actually not the truth. You can actually just stand and attack. So just walk left and right and attack. And if you want, you can use your special weapons. Now, if you've got something like the holy water on this section, you need to really watch out for what the enemies drop. You'll notice that they do actually drop some items and power-ups here and there. They can also drop sub-weapons, and if you really want that holy water, you need to make sure you don't accidentally walk into a sub-weapon that you don't need. And there's actually going to be a trick here I'm going to show you. Just hold right to get underneath this bone pillar. You don't actually have to fight that bone pillar. If you just hold right before it appears on screen, you'll just walk underneath it 100% of the time. There's also a dagger right here, keep in mind. So if you got holy water, you want to avoid that dagger. And there's going to be another bone pillar right here. If you time the holy water just right, you can it'll come out and just be touching the holy water immediately. So there was some wall meat right there I picked up as well. And here's another bone pillar. Not bone pillar, I'm calling them bone pillars. These are bone dragons, sorry. Bone pillars are the ones that just sit straight up and shoot fireballs straight across the screen. You gotta watch out for the bone dragons because they, you know, they actually aim at you with their fireballs. Their fireballs will go at angles. And this is how you take out Frankenstein's monster really, really quickly. It's with holy water. This is one of the trickiest fights in the game if you try to actually do it normally. It's a very satisfying fight if you can do it, for instance, without sub-weapons or just with the dagger or something like that. But to someone trying to beat this game for the first time, I would recommend trying to get here with the holy water. And if you can get here with the holy water, the boss is a cakewalk. Especially if you got the Roman numerals. If you got the Roman numerals, you can keep him pinned. And the same rings true for other bosses as well, like Medusa, the mummies, Death, which is going to be on this next stage, actually. So we're actually pretty far into the game. You know, like I said, Castlevania is not a super long game, especially when you know what to do. Especially when you know what to do. Let's see if we can hit him from below. Oh. Sometimes you can actually hit enemies from below with the holy water. The flame, I guess the hitbox on the flame is just big enough to where if you get it stuck in a ceiling, it'll actually register a hit above. So that's something that's kind of fun to do. You can do it in other Castlevanias as well. But most notoriously the first one and the third one. So let's go ahead and just pick up some stuff. These are red skeletons. The red skeletons actually can't be killed in this game. They can actually be killed in Castlevania 3 in a very specific manner. As long as you're using Sypha and have her freeze ability. But aside from that, they cannot be killed. In this game, or Castlevania 3, or in any other Castlevania, they're a very common enemy type in the Castlevania series. So basically you attack them, they fall down, and then they come back. So these are some of the most difficult enemies in the game. They're called axe armor. And they're basically heavily armored dudes that throw these boomerang-styled axes at you. Holy water is their weakness. Using one thing of holy water typically will kill them. There's an axe right here. We're not going to pick that up. We're going to use this holy water for the boss fight, and I'm going to show you how to defeat this boss really easily with the holy water. So, now there's several bosses in the game you can pretty much just wreck by using the holy water trick. However, the final boss in the game you actually have to fight normally. You can't just demolish him with a special weapon trick. And you will see what I mean by that once we get to him, which isn't going to be too long from now. Alright, so I've already got Roman numeral 3, but in case you need another Roman numeral, it's going to be here in this little hidden area. There's also going to be another hidden area here coming up in just a moment. But let's kill this axe. No, let's not kill the axe armor. Let's just get the hidden item. So if you jump right here, another hidden money bag. And I'm going to use holy water right there. There we go. Bam, just like that. Normally these guys take a lot of hits with just your whip or any other sub-weapon, but with the holy water they just get wrecked almost instantly. Alright, so this section coming up is the last stretch. This is your last checkpoint in this level. Doors act as checkpoints in this game, so we just opened up the door, went to a new screen. That is basically the checkpoint. And there is also going to be a cross here, which is right there, and I definitely do not want that for this boss fight. So we're up to 6 lives as well, which is pretty solid. I don't even think we've died yet, have we? I don't think we have. So the holy water is definitely going to come in handy here, but just kind of like the outside area we went to with all the hunchbacks and birds dropping them, you want to make sure that you watch out for what the enemies drop, because they might drop a weapon that you really don't want if you're trying to defeat this boss using the trick I'm about to show you. So just drop some holy water right here, and just keep doing it. Rinse and repeat. Yeah, so Death and Frankenstein's monster are both very, very difficult boss fights if you try to defeat them normally. Quote-unquote normally. But holy water just pretty much takes him down instantly if you know exactly where to place it at the right time. So death basically comes down from the ceiling and just runs straight into the holy water. And it'll pretty much annihilate him. As long as you've got, especially if you got the Roman numerals, you can basically just cascade the holy water drop. And that will pretty much do it. Let's come up here. This is going to be a tricky section. These big bats are not nice. And a little bit of randomization there, unfortunately. That's okay. So what I usually do is just hold left. I'll jump in and I'll attack that first one. I'll jump over this guy, just like that. And there's going to be a stopwatch here. I don't really care if I take a hit or two. Doesn't really matter. Because at this point, I can use the stopwatch. And there's also going to be a big heart over here, just in case I need to use the stopwatch one more time. Just like that. And going through this little door right here actually takes us to our next checkpoint. So if we die, we actually respawn back here. This is our last checkpoint until Dracula's room, which is the final boss room. So I think I've got the stopwatch. As long as I don't die here from these skeletons, I think we should be fine, actually. There is going to be some more wall meat. Okay, good. Got that guy. Awesome. Alright, we're just going to walk down these stairs. Let's just hold on for a second. What's actually kind of cool is that there's also a money bag right here. I didn't know that actually until recently. I was experimenting on stream one night, on Twitch actually, and yeah, found it. So that was pretty cool. Alright, so we're in the final stretch, basically. You know what I'm going to do is, I'm going to kill myself. This is a checkpoint right here, and so what I did is I just sacrificed a life to refill my health bar. So if you've got a bunch of lives and you get to a section like this, you can feel free to do the same. You know, I usually play games within their limits. I don't look at it as like, oh, I can't lose a single life. I'm not really aiming for like perfect runs these days usually, so for me, you know, sometimes I'll just lose a life intentionally just to make life easier, or to give me, you know, more wiggle room with certain difficult boss fights or something like that. So, know your checkpoints and play the game according to them. So what I'm doing is I'm going back down this stairwell basically, and every time you go off screen and come back. Or every time the screen changes, I should say, and you go back, the candles reappear. So, very good to know in this game. It also happens in Castlevania 3 as well. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab the holy water again. Unfortunately, we can't wreck Dracula with it, but we can use it as a tool for his second form. Now, this form right here is very, very random. Dracula basically just disappears and then reappears, sometimes right on top of you. He shoots these fireballs out, and you need to jump over them and attack him in the head at the right time. It's all timing here. Distance and timing. So you want to make sure you're relatively close so you can jump forward over the fireballs and then attack him in the face. It's just forward, jump, attack. Forward, jump, attack. That's it. It's actually a lot easier than you would expect. It's just a slow fight. That's one of the issues with this boss fight, is it takes endurance. You basically have to hit Dracula 20 times. I think it's about 20 times. It's close to it. And so this next one's gonna change him into his second form, but there is a trick on his second form. Holy water will stun him. It doesn't hurt him, but it will stun him. Now he's going to shoot some fireballs out. Just like that. And if you hold down in front of him, you'll actually bait him into a high jump. That's actually something I learned from watching one of the speedrunners play this game. I had no idea you can do that, and it helps so much on this fight. Let's just let him jump. Alright, we got this. So using the holy water stuns him in place. It gives you a few extra moments to do a couple of extra hits on him. And it makes that fight a lot more manageable. So when I was a kid, I was always like, why is holy water here? Like, I don't understand it. I can't attack Dracula in the head with it. So I always just use the boomerang or the cross. But in recent years, I discovered that the holy water has more of a use on the second form than I originally gave it credit for. So that is the first Castlevania, guys, from start to finish. You know, died a couple of times, but nothing too crazy. Yeah, so if you're new to this game, or if you're not new to this game, but you're having trouble with it, and you want to try to finish the game for the first time, if you use those tricks, you should be able to get through the game without too much trouble. Now, don't get me wrong, Castlevania is still a challenging game. You know, even with those tricks, you still have to make sure you can attack the regular enemies fine. You learn the patterns, you learn the stages. It's just the nature of this type of game. You're not going to get through it on your first try, most likely, and it's probably going to take a while. For some of us in pre-internet times, it took 10 years to beat the game for the first time. But, you know, it is what it is with tools of the internet and so forth these days. It's a lot easier to get through these games in a shorter period of time. So we could actually continue playing the game and go through it again. That would be loop number 2. We're not going to do that this time. I think I did that in my long play, and I think I might have did it in my Let's Play from years back. So, but we're going to go ahead and wrap the game up here. If you want to check out those old playthroughs, just check out my Let's Plays playlist, and you'll find some lots of Castlevania videos on there. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just wrap things up here, guys. So I want to say, as usual, thanks for watching. Thanks again to the new Patreon supporters as well, and all the existing ones. Thanks to all the people that are subscribed to my channel, and if you're not subscribed to my channel, feel free to click that G icon right there and get subscribed. We've got lots of Let's Plays on this channel and many more to come. And so I'll just leave you with that, guys. Thanks again for watching. I'll catch you soon with another video. So until then, take it easy.